What is your main source of leads for your agency?
SEO has always been like a lagging indicator. You can see you could get burnt sometimes doing like the revenue share type approach. So obviously you have no control over their sales process or their pricing and all the rest of it, their shipping, returns, and all the rest of it. So I've always sort of steered a little bit away from that. Sales is very subjective based on the salesperson you have doing the job. So we sped that up using AI to like 15 minutes now. It used to take like 6 hours.
How have you found operating your business in the UK over the last few years, and especially kind of dealing with this kind of government mismatch of what's actually going to happen and what is happening?
Very, very bearish over the UK economy. The next 2-3 years, I think you're going to see tons of businesses going out of business.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode where I'll be interviewing SEO experts and entrepreneurs from around the world. In today's episode, I've got a very cool guest for you today, a young guy all the way from my home area, basically the West Midlands in the UK, who has got a very successful agency, previously been in web development, has done talks across the UK and starting to do talks internationally now as well. Please welcome to the channel, Adam Collins, ladies and gentlemen.
Pleasure, Charles. Hello, everyone.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Do you want to give people a bit of a background into yourself and how you got started in SEO?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my earliest memories of SEO was I was working in a web design development company and a massive one. And the Google penalties just dropped, and like they had. I think they had thousands of SEO customers, and the vast majority were absolutely tanked. And it was me and a couple of other people. We were tasked with creating a on-site SEO team to start going through and basically removing all the on-page spam. So that would have been what's that, like 2012, something like that, 2012, 2013. I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest with you, but I learned a substantial amount. And then later on down the line, that came to play dividends when I started my own agency, because obviously I could start offering SEO. And then obviously it just snowballed from there. But and been in and around it for a long time, but doing it properly for 3-4 years.
Oh, okay, cool. So how would you say your background kind of in web development has helped or maybe even influenced your approach going into SEO?
Yeah, I think it helped a lot. So I was a WordPress web developer, then I was a Magento developer with PHP, etc. I ran a web agency, so I managed a lot of developers. We have very big projects. I feel that when I set the agency up, I think having that level of base foundation just helps along the way substantially for you to get a little bit further along. You know, like if you've got technical problems, canonicalization problems, why is this not being indexed, etc. I do really feel like, and one of the things since I've been hiring SEOs in-house is I do feel like a lot of people now are very, very reliant on like Elementor or like these page builders, which are fine. But the problem is that when an issue crops up, you don't really know how to be able to solve that problem. So, or without having to hire an external developer. So I feel that the web development background was probably very beneficial. But I probably, to be honest with you, I knew I should have been getting into SEO probably 3-4 years before that. But you've developed as well. You're kind of very precious over like, no, I'm a developer, that's my identity. SEO is this thing over here, I'll leave that over there. So but yeah, no, I'm glad I don't do it anymore. Like I was doing some web development actually yesterday, the first time for a long time, and I find it substantially more laborious and boring now than I did the decade ago. So I'm glad I don't do it every day, but I think having the foundations there is good.
Yeah, 100%. So you actually ran a previous kind of full service agency before you transitioned into a proper SEO agency. What made that decision? Was it just that you kind of saw the scalability and the kind of that focus and the attention and stuff?
Yeah, so the full service agency was good, and we had some really big clients as well, like international clients. The problem we have, well, I could see with the agency model was one, you're a jack of all trades, master of none. So you're trying to you're like, oh, I'm a PPC agency. You're like, oh my God, I need some processes for over here now, which is just not scalable. Two, it's extremely feast and famine. You get like a project, you're like, oh, we're fine for the next 6 months, and we need to hire some people. And then at the end of the 6 months, you go, are they going to extend it? Are they going to have additional work? Which I always found was pretty edgy. And three, it was based, we had like an office, we had a lot of overhead. The staff were within like a small radius because everyone needs to drive into the office. And I could never scale it past a certain point. And, you know, I'm sure there's very successful people who've been able to do that. But I just found it really, really hard. And the web development side was just being crushed by Squarespaces and all the rest of it. So I've seen it as a little bit of that full service agency. I mean, I'm sure that then there's people doing it very well, but I've seen that it was for me, I think it was on its way out. And again, I know people disagree with that because people do it very well, but in that sense, so I was actually watching, COVID had just hit, and I was sat in my office, which had massive overheads on, by myself, like, oh my God, what have I done this for? And I was watching a Ryan Stewart blueprint video, and he was just on about how you should just niche down, just do SEO. So I literally was just like, right, sold my shares in the company to my business partner, exited that, and then just went and started again from scratch from zero mid-COVID. It was like August 2020. And I'm so glad I did it, to be fair, because I think it's one of those where it's like, well, there's never a good time to do things. And I think sometimes you just need to go straight into it. When you know it's the right time, you just need to jump.
Yeah, make the right move when you know it's the right time, in the right position.
100%.
And I'm glad it's worked out so well for you as well. So I know you're involved in a lot of groups. You do local events, business networking events, conferences, kind of all sorts of different trade events and things, right? What is your main source of leads for your agency, and what's been your main source of leads for agency been?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. So I'd say the main source of leads for me has been networking in the right types of places. So I've always done networking. I've always went to these events, etc. I think speaking is a great way of getting customers. It's basically a 30 to 45-minute pitch. But without doubt, the best form for me has been going to London and paying to be in private networks. That has been without doubt the best lead source for me. It's a little bit of a slower process. You can't come into it like gung ho like you would at the networking events, you know, where you're like, I do this, and they're like, I do this. You're just trying to like get business from each other. But I think paying to be in the right rooms with extremely high net individuals and working on, okay, what do they want? Being interested in them. Can I help? Yeah, I'm an SEO guy. You know, oh, you paying what, 3-4 grand a month for an SEO at the minute? You know, are they actually doing anything? Do you want me to have a look over that? Oh, well, they're not doing backlinks, not doing this. You know, it opens doors. And I think that's definitely, and if I could tell actually myself 10 years ago when I was running the agency, that's what I'd have done, which is make sure, you know, pay money if you need to be in the room with the right people and solve problems for them. And I think then everything else sort of takes care of itself. But we have like a multitude of leads. Like I said, we get leads from speaking, leads come through the website, although it's not like a massive focus for us. We get a lot of referrals. But yeah, definitely like networking with higher net individuals is a big win for us.
And now for a quick message from our sponsor, Search Intelligence. If you're looking for digital PR campaigns, what you're about to see should impress you.
Do you remember this campaign? It was all over the news. It is the most intelligent royal campaign. With over 100 links generated in the world's biggest online publications, this is one of the most viral PR campaigns of 2021. This is how we've done it. The methodology was pretty simple. We looked at the QS World University rankings for the institutions attended by key members of the royal family to discover which royal is the brightest of all. Meghan Markle came out on top, followed by Kate Middleton and Prince William. We put these findings in a press release and sent it to mainstream media and journalists who write about royals. From Russia to the UK, the US, Vietnam and Japan, this story got massive coverage, landing over 100 links and created a massive buzz on social media. Simple research, but a great story that journalists love to write about. I hope this will put you on fire and will give you inspiration.
How have you improved your sales process since kind of generating and going out on your own and stuff as well?
Yeah, no. So sales process is actually something we're going to revisit. So we got to a stage where we decided to implement an operations manager internally. So the last, I'd say 6 to 9 months, we've been really focused on trying to solve the get hit by a bus test. Like, okay, Adam gets hit by a bus. Like, can we survive? Can content survive? Can links survive? Can we do this? Can we do that? Sales is something we're going to revisit soon. The sales process, I think always that you need to always continue to develop it. For us personally, and the thing is with SEO is you're selling something which everyone sells. So there's not a lot of you know, when people say like, what's your USP, what's this? I feel like a lot of people just sell the same thing. It's like a retainer for a service. So what we tried to do, we came up with like an SEO health audit type thing. It's a low cost tripwire sale. It's 150 quid, but it was a good way of like qualifying people that they'll at least spend money before we start going ahead and doing things. And then we sold we sell like a 12-week, we call it a 12-week fast track. And the way that we pitch that, and it's mainly because I know other agencies aren't going to be speaking like this. We're on about, look, we're going to do like 9 months worth of work in a 12-week period. You know, we're going to get your topical strategy right, technical stuff right, implement and improve key pages, but also we're going to go through this thing called the SEO Launchpad. And the SEO Launchpad is just like a fancy way of saying basically like entity stacking, like building the brand as an entity, doing PR, doing social profiles, doing citations, doing all that core stuff and guest posts and link building. And packaged up like that, people really like it. I think they love the PR element as well. And I think that gives us a separator from other agencies in the marketplace. And then after that, we work with them on a recurring retainer basis. And we find that that's a nice way of also as well for cash flow. It's a nice way of actually getting some decent cash off the client initially to get things set up, etc., without having to, you know, front load a lot of work going forward.
Yeah, when I used to run out my e-commerce SEO agency before I sold it, we would do a revenue retainer basis. So any additional cash flow that we generate on their revenue on top of what they were earning on average before, we would get the difference between that, you know,
nice.
like a percentage share on revenue. But
did that work?
The issue was,
or were you front loading a lot?
No, it did work, but what I had to do was make sure that for the first 30 days, we didn't take anything from their revenue, but they had to pay an upfront fee. Because otherwise it just wouldn't work, right? There'd be an occasional client that'd be like, okay, actually, they've done so little and they've got so little competition and there's so much opportunity here that we're actually just going to be able to, you know, you can spend $1,000 and 10x their revenue overnight on this site, but that's very rare, right? So you kind of have to take on board that initial capital. Otherwise, like you said, it's going to be front loading stuff and your business cash flow is going to be pretty strained at the best of times and things, right? And that initial, it also gives you a ton of work to do initially because you get to do the auditing, the link building, the foundational link building, the technical analysis, the content plan, the strategy, the calendar, the whole lot, right? All in one go. And the client kind of pays for it upfront without having to take it out of your fee later on. And it makes it more,
to be honest, yeah, for sure. And obviously one of the things is as well as like SEO has always been like a lagging indicator. So getting that stuff done early on. And we've thought about maybe pivoting to that as well, of actually charging even more upfront. But being able to go through and do like all of the content and say like in a topical cluster, for example, and be like, look, rather than us doing say 5 pages and then we'll do, because we usually do about 6,000 words per month for a customer. And it's great. And we build a topical strategy and you get there, but you're always sort of elongating things out further along. So we actually have thought about doing that, which is front loading a substantial amount, charging a lot more up front, but front loading a lot more, but mainly of the content side, so that they obviously can get the topical coverage a lot faster. But no, it's a really interesting concept as well. People have asked me before about it, but it's a tricky one. I can see you could get burnt sometimes doing like the revenue share type approach, because obviously you have no control over their sales process or their pricing and all the rest of it, their shipping, returns, and all the rest of it. So I've always sort of steered a little bit away from that. But yeah, I guess it could be extremely lucrative if you get the right projects.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, there's all sorts of things to take into consideration when you're dealing with like higher ticket e-commerce stuff. A lot of it's actually still phone sales and things. People still phone up and buy, 10%, 20% of revenue phone, and you don't pick up any of that, but you could still be increasing it by quite a lot, right? And it's especially in certain markets.
Yeah, we've got bespoke jewelers which we work with, and there we get a lot of traffic to a lot of pages, and that's the same thing. It's like to their bespoke stuff. It's like people aren't necessarily buying online, and then so now we're like pivoting it, like, right, we need to do these consultations, we need to get people on the phone, because are you really going to drop 15-20 grand on a ring and have not tried it on for your misses or something like that? So that's like what we're going through now. But then, like you said, you're dependent on their sales team, and how are they handling that? Are they getting back to people quickly, et cetera, et cetera. So that's always made me a little bit edgy on it, because sales is very subjective based on the salesperson you have doing the job. So
yeah, I think the best setup is kind of James Dooley and Gareth Hoyle setup, where they try and actually get a stake in the business and try and then generate it based on that. So, try and get 10-20% of the business and say, hey, look, you can outsource your entire marketing and potentially outsource, all of your IT systems, your website, all of that costs. We'll do everything for you. And not only that, but we'll actually 10x your lead generation and stuff, right? That's probably the only real solution to that, because there is just so many variables when it comes to revenue share and stuff. So I want to talk about algorithm updates, the bane of SEO existence.
Yeah.
Have they been much of a bane to your agency, or are you dealing with such kind of niche or local clients that it doesn't really affect you that much?
No, to be honest with you, our clients are doing really well, which is nice to see. I do feel like the foundation layer stuff which we've been doing because the thing is, so our positioning in the marketplace, we're not trying to sell crazy high retainers. We're not trying to sell crazy low retainers. We're trying to be the sort of the middleman for businesses who they want to get SEO done properly, but they might not have the budget or the confidence to spend 4 or 5 grand per month. They've got like a marketing manager who needs support. So in that sense, we don't have the largest budgets to be able to work with. So a core element of what we do is really the foundations and trying to do things right. So making sure the foundational link building is sorted, making sure we're doing good quality guest person link inserts across the site to different areas of the site, and then really putting a big focus on content. And I think we put a lot of time building these topical maps for the customers. I know, what's the chap from Keyword Insights called? I can't remember his name.
Andy Chadwick.
I showed him well, obviously we use Keyword Insights, but then what we do is we go in and we visually represent this using like I think it's called MindMeister, this tool. But it's a really good deliverable for the customers, because they see their whole topical strategy mapped out, whether it's new pages, existing pages, the search volume, keyword difficulty. We go through and do all the intents. So it's a really nice roadmap for them to go through and see like how their campaign is progressing. And it's actually a very good sales tool to keep people retained as well. Because if you're like, look, we're only 30% complete of this, and people can visually see it, they're a lot more committed to stay for another year, 2 years. Fortunately, because we've stayed away from doing too much of the trickery type stuff, we haven't had too much of a negative effect. You'll always have one, I think, which is, we'll see, maybe it's been doing dodgy stuff for like 10 years or something, and it's finally caught up, or like a lot of their backlink profile is no longer really passing much authority, and you have to go do disavows and stuff like that. But no, we try and do it in an evergreen way, which isn't going to get smacked too much, which again, we could probably get faster results for customers, but it's always been one of those, when I speak to business owners, I'm trying to speak to them as another business owner rather than an SEO. And it's like, we can do a lot of this stuff, but we don't want to risk the integrity of the site further on down the line. But I think that's a really good commitment to like my team as well. Like most times the algorithm updates hit, our team do, like, we have a look at it, we analyze it, and most of the rankings do go up, which is we're really pleased about. I think actually one of the things we do see from a local point of view though is like the sites which have these, we're going after all of these cities, they don't have those locations. They're the ones which really we see struggle these days with it. And then they're like, well, we no longer rank for Manchester. It's like, you have one page on Manchester, so and you're based in London. Like, unfortunately, that's what we've seen as from the local point of view is just substantially harder now to rank, unless that you build like the Manchester as a separate entity, a separate business, social profiles, citation signals, PR to it. Then we found that you can still do very well from it. But just like the willy-nilly, we're just going to create a mass page builder for every city in the country. We don't seem like that doesn't seem to work very well these days for us anyway.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. Are you utilizing AI within your agency much as well? I know that you use one of my GPTs that I never got out of alpha, but I know I know you were utilizing that a little bit. Are you using any other AI tools in your agency?
I'm actually doing a talk in about a month in Birmingham, actually, to the marketing agencies about how they can leverage AI for their agency. So we adopted it initially, obviously guest person link inserts, etc. But we adopted it for the content process internally, and we've had like a ton of success on that. And I know I know obviously you've released Cuppa, but like for example, we've just hired a really like competent content manager who's like got private tuition, who's offered private tuition for like a number of years, very high end. We've also just onboarded another content person who was working for Business Insider. But again, we're hiring them now fully as content editors. But we've built a really robust, I think, process for content editing. So using ChatGPT, but using like what's it called? AI PM, is it? I'm trying to think of that
AI
extension.
PRM.
Yeah, that's it. Which helps a lot, making sure you change the tonality, making sure we're being very, very specific. We're still doing content briefs first, content outlines, moving it in, and then working paragraph by paragraph, then changing the tonality, making sure there's statistics and all the rest of it in there. So we found by doing that, it's allowed us to scale up content substantially. So I think that's definitely something that people should definitely use. But we've used it for a lot of different areas as well. So we've used it for the keyword, getting it from like keyword insight. So we have this thing where we get it from keyword insights, we analyze it all, and then we bring it into the MindMeister, which was a very manual process before, but a really good deliverable. So like that, for example, we sped that up using AI to like 15 minutes now. It used to take like 6 hours. So that's like a nice pro. I think end to end, we're trying to speed things up. Even like things looking for link inserts on sites, looking for internal link suggestions. Like I love using some of the plugins on there to be able to just say, look, this is the site. We want to find pit. Like one of the things you speak about is when you get a guest post, getting other pages on that website to link to that guest post to power it up, so it's not an orphan page. Like I find ChatGPT being very good on that, just to use like a plugin, scrape that site and say, look, we're producing a guest post on that site. Can you find me 2-3 other pages which would have a suitable link to this, and then sending them through to the client. So yeah, there's a lot which we've used from an AI point of view, and we really want to try and start looking at the sales side and how we can integrate AI to really build the sales pipeline and handle a lot of the back and forth with site owners and doing audits and stuff like that. But that's for this year for sure. But I'll speak to you about that, because I'm sure that you'll be able to give some advice on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. We can look at it in Dubai, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussions and talks and things in Dubai anyway. That's going to definitely help with all of that, because I've seen some of the presentations and I can already tell you there is. So 100%.
Yeah.
So the last thing I kind of want to talk about, and it's a bit of a sad note to end on, the UK. we're both from the UK. It hasn't exactly been the easiest last few years when it comes to business, politics, travel, everything. When it comes to it, just seems to be like a cascading kind of effects, right? With COVID, Brexit, the war in Ukraine, just all sorts of things happening, right? How have you found operating your business in the UK over the last few years, and especially kind of dealing with this kind of government mismatch of what's actually going to happen and what is happening?
Yeah, no, it is a little bit of a sad note. To be fair, I'm very, very bearish over the UK economy. I've been for a long time. If you ever watch my stories, I'm extremely negative over it, which is like a bit of a negative Nancy maybe, but I have a lot of my money in either US stocks, US index funds, or in gold, uranium, stuff like that, because leaving your money in the bank these days is, especially in the UK, like it's absolutely criminal. And I think people aren't aware just how much inflation is destroying not their own personal wealth, but their company's wealth as well. I think it's making recruiting very hard. My accountant, I was speaking to them not too long ago, and they were like, this is the first year they're not going to hire graduates for like the last 20 years, because like minimum wage now is ridiculously high. And like the living wage, what people want to be on and need to be on in order to keep at cost to be able to live, is high now. And whether people, I was speaking to someone the other day, because there's two sides of every coin. One of the sides is, yeah, people need to be paid more, 100%, I get that. The other side though is that impact on that business owner, because where they could have hired 5 or 6 employees, maybe they now need to only hire 2, or maybe they can only hire 2 or 3. So I feel like the inflation in salaries as well is making it very hard to be a business owner. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to do what I do and you do, which is outsource a lot of it abroad now. And it's like, it is actually really, it's sad. And I don't look like, we've got like, there's 11 of us, and I think about 7 in the UK, and then 4 or 5 in the Philippines, so maybe 12. But I can I challenge my operations manager. Like, one of her tasks is like, how do we not hire in the UK as such now? How do we outsource elements of that? And it's a super depressing chat. But the problem is that it's hard, because you're being hit from like every possible angle. It's like, okay, so it's cost more to get employees, which is, yeah, it's one of those. But then your corporation tax has gone up as well. And then you've got sales tax, and like there's like taxes everywhere. So, and the problem
tariffs
is
shipping to the EU now and stuff as well. So
exactly. But the problem is as well is the economy's not it's not like we're paying a lot of taxes and living in this utopia. It's like the economy's failing as well. I mean, I've moved to London because of, like I said, the network, and it's a big part of what I want to do. But like, do I feel safe walking around a lot of London? Probably not. You know, like it's my friend yeah, got his Rolex stole not that long ago in London. So now he like his new Rolex, he will like only wear to special places, and he walks around hiding it. I've always said like I'm like, what, I wouldn't wear a Rolex in London anyway. To me, it just seems like an absolute death sentence. But yeah, no. So running a business from that point of view, I think it's tricky, and I think it's gonna really, I think there's gonna be the next 2-3 years, I think you're going to see tons of businesses going out of business. Like, I really do feel like that. I think it's like you're either going to have to pivot and outsource a lot of it abroad in order to do a lot of those medial tasks there, or like a lot of companies are just not going to be able to survive it. I don't think anyway. And the sad thing is, it's not going to be those big companies either. It's going to be like your mum and pop businesses with like 2 to 20 employers or something, who are just like, this makes no sense anymore. It's like, this is pointless. So, which is very sad. So on a somber note, we'll finish it there.
No, well, I
what do you think anyway?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And looking from the outside.
Yeah, well, actually, because we still hire a lot in the UK because of the manufacturing company, right? So we had over 400 people last year in the UK. We've cut down now to under that, so in the 300-ish range. But it's not like you said, minimum wage is the main issue, because we're trying to hire entry level people. So we're trying to hire people who are filling cushions, or people who are moving a piece of wood from a machine to another machine, right? And those sorts of positions. It's
like 20K a year now, isn't it?
I think it's more than that. It's like maybe 23K a year or something like that, full time, right? And especially if then you take into consideration overtime at things like Christmas, when you're having to shovel stuff out the door and things like that. It's just kind of overwhelming for a lot of business owners, and also if a lot of business owners don't prepare or haven't prepared properly and haven't kind of seen it coming, which I don't understand how you haven't seen this kind of thing coming over the last few years. You should have been prepared. And even some companies that are, you know, in our industry, they're 200, 300 years old. They've gone out of business in the last few years, right? And it was kind of cascading effects. It wasn't just this or just that. It was all of these things together have kind of overwhelmed this business, and they don't have the capital or cash flow anymore to operate. And they kind of just had to liquidate. And it luckily for us, it meant that we could pick up some nice employees. That
I was going to say, like we've actually seen.
But,
we did like a bit of a but we did a bit of a hiring thing the other day for a new content manager, a few more content people, and like the caliber, because of a lot of places are like letting go now. Like I think we've seen quite a few from places like Business Insider, seeing quite a few from the big publication. Like people are just, they're letting them go. They're like, yeah, we're closing this team down. We're not doing this anymore. So I think, like you said, on that side, it's probably a really good opportunity to find the right employees. My worry is though, I think where I started, I didn't go to uni, and I was just like, I found a web company. I was like, look, I'll come and work for minimum wage. Like I'll be the lowest paid employee. I'm not bothered. Like I just want to get in, and I got a job there when I was 17. And I think I was on 12 grand a year. And I was like, that was my like little foot in the door. And then obviously from that, but now it's like, that's a big decision. It's like, do I want this person with no experience to pay 22 grand a year to fill a cushion? Yeah, it's like you could not get that foot in the door to get that experience, which I think is really sad.
That £1,000 a month, because obviously in the UK that's still within your threshold, so you're actually getting £1,000 a month. That's that back then that was livable. So like you could actually, as long as you weren't paying rent or you're living with your family or friends or something, as long as you can get to work, which now your Oyster card in London is like 280 or 320 pounds per month. You know, that used to be 100 quid a month. You know, you've got your food tripled since 10 years ago. All these things are just getting out of control. So I genuinely think that it's actually like a lot of these young people can't even take those opportunities anymore, because they're having to look for something higher, even though to actually get their foot in the door, get started in a career path that is going to get them to where they want to be in life. They kind of need to be at that lower position, but actually they're starting at these positions which probably don't lead to anywhere, which again is just creating this economy of stagnation where people aren't moving forward and nothing's moving forward. And this is also why I created and started the IT and SEO recruitment agency in the UK, is because I think we have such a massive pool of talent in the UK that is amazing, that can effectively work also under a lot of different time zones, because it's pretty good for America, it's fairly good for Asia, it's great for Europe. You can even kind of work with like Australia and New Zealand to some extent. I think that there's this massive pool of talent, but there isn't a lot of opportunity for them directly there. So if we can get opportunities from elsewhere, because there's just an abundance of remote positions now, and most companies are moving to remote positions, especially with marketing, especially with SEO. And we can fulfill a lot of these positions with amazing talent that they don't necessarily have to pay the same price as they do in the US or something. And hopefully we can try and level up the UK to a position that we're still competing with the US. But unfortunately, it's just that thing. And I think that you said something earlier where you moved to London to kind of be in this circle. I think unfortunately London's like the only place left in the UK to do business. That I will say to an extent, Edinburgh actually does have something going on for it. There is some good business going on up in Edinburgh, but it's still nowhere near the league that London is. And London's kind of in its own league when it comes to business and stuff in the UK, which isn't, again, it's not really the same in like, even like Germany has different metropolitan hubs that are killing it in the economy. Even France, right? Paris is up there, but you've still got Lyon and Marseille and things which are doing really well. And Birmingham and stuff isn't the same. Manchester, massive homelessness issue. It's not the same. So I think that there's just, like I said, I think that there's just a lot of cascading effects. And I'm hoping that business moves forward. So ending on more of a happy note, where can people find more of your positivity online? And where can they find more of these negative?
Yes, obviously on Instagram, Adam Collins SEO. I'm going to start dropping some more stuff on YouTube now. So we've just hired someone to do marketing for our company. So we're always hiring people to do marketing for other companies, but we're finally hiring someone to like kick me up the bum and make me start producing stuff on socials and do more talks and all the rest of it. So obviously our YouTube at similar Adam Collins SEO, and then I'll be releasing a book soon, like an ebook type thing soon as well. It was actually you and Jason Bernard who really started like honing down on the foundational entity stuff. So we've done it internally, but I've put it into some form of an ebook now anyway. So that'll be releasing really soon. Just about, because again, what you were saying before about how do you optimize your business so you're not, everyone's like, let's go and start spending hundreds of pounds on guest posts. And I was speaking to the chap who owns Pitchbox about it the other day. Like, I do feel like one of the things which has actually gave us a bit of an edge when working against bigger agencies is the fact that we do all of our link building in-house. And we're able to negotiate very, very like lower costs for the links that we build. But again, before you even get to that stage, there's so much that you could be doing, building the entity, building your trust and all the rest of it. So I'm releasing an ebook on that soon. So that will be, I think on like Google Books or something like Adam Collins SEO. But I'll 100% send it over to you first, Charles, so you can get rid of anything I say which is incorrect.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll look forward to kind of reviewing that for you. And I'll link all of those in the description down below. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.